Hey guys, welcome back to UModeler. In this video, we're going to cover the UModelerX Gen 3D tool, the new AI tool that allows you to generate and create 3D models directly inside of Unity using the connection or your API connection from Meshy.ai. All right, so to get started, the first thing you want to do is in your toolbar, you want to click on this area where it says AI. So if I have this closed, I'm going to go ahead and click AI. Great. Now, the next thing you want to do is let's take a look at this area on the left side here. Over here, this little key, if you click this, I'm not going to click it, but if you click this, this will be where you can actually add your API key. So to add your API key, you just head over to Meshy.ai and go into your settings and you'll be able to get your API key. You just have to generate it. Once you generate it, you import that API key, just copy and paste it directly into that portion, and you should be good to go. Once you do that, you'll see your different credits are going to be located here next to this circular gold coin looking credit icon. All right, great. Now you can see that there's a tripo here, but tripo is not included just yet. That is coming, but for now we have the Meshy connection. All right, so below that in this section here, this is going to be your window to be able to rotate, zoom in on your object. So for instance, I'm going to go ahead and click on this here. Now this is a 3D object that I already generated. So what I can do is I can actually rotate this here, just clicking, left clicking and rotating. I can zoom in just like you normally would. And if I hold down the middle mouse button, I can also pan. So that's really cool and expect it just like you would expect in your 3D applications. Now above that on the left side, you have the ability to turn off textures. You have the ability to just turn your textures back on here. And then you can go into wireframe mode as well. Now this mesh has lots of vertexes and faces. So when you zoom out really far, it's going to look black. But if you zoom in, you can see that it is here and it's all in wireframe. Great. Now below that, you have this button that says add to scene. So if you were to click this button, so for instance, I'm going to click this button. And once I click this button, you can see this model was placed into my scene just like so. And if I bring this guy up here and I can go ahead and zoom in, there you have it. You have this model directly inside of your Unity scene ready to be used. Now there's some things I might want to do to this, but for now, that's how you add it to the scene. Now below that in this area here, it's called a history. You have your project and then you have your web. I'm going to go ahead and turn project off. Web is anything that you generated on Meshy.ai website directly that will show up here. So if you want, you can click on this here. So for instance, if I were to click on, say for this here, it's going to give me that option to now view it in the viewer, and then I can add this to the scene as well. Now the other one, I'm going to go ahead and turn web off. If you click project, these are going to be the generations that we created directly inside of Unity using the Gen 3D UModeler tool. So of course, if I click this, that's going to show up here. Now, both of these are really just two separate generations. So this generation here was the first generation where I did it basically a text to 3D generation. And then the second one I did here was a text to texture generation. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at how that works. So on the right side at the top, it says generate. So generally you can either do an image to 3D or you can do a text to 3D. So in this case, you can do a image to 3D. So for instance, I did text to 3D and you do light pole, old, rusted, bronze. So this is going to generate the first non-textured version of this, okay? And in this case, let's go ahead and do something different. So we can do sci-fi, maybe light pole, and maybe that will give us a different outcome. So sci-fi, light pole, old, rusted, and bronze. So the bronze part probably won't really come into play until we do the texturing. But for now, let's go ahead and just remove bronze. We'll leave rusted just for description purposes. And then what I'll do at the bottom, we get to choose the AI model. So Meshy has their own AI models. Right now it's just Meshy 5 and 6. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and select 6. That's going to be their latest model. And you can choose the art style. So we can do sculpture or realistic. I'll leave it on realistic. And because we're not doing a character or anything like that, I'm just going to leave the pose this to off. I'm going to go into triangle mode and I'm going to leave it at 300 or 30,000 poly count. And then for symmetry, I'll just leave this on auto and leave seed at random. And then what I'll just go ahead and do is hit generate. So I'm going to hit generate. And let's go ahead and let this generate, and I will see you guys once it's done. It may take a couple minutes to do, but when it does generate, you'll see this here building up on the left side here. All right, so it looks like our generation is all done. And just also keep in mind at the bottom here, you have the credits that were used for that. So of course, if you change this to 5, your credits are going to change based on the model that you choose. All right, so this looks all right. So we have our object here, and it is I guess a sci-fi light pole, old and rusted. So I guess that's fine for now. So we'll leave that just like that. And you can see that it just created basically a non-textured item. All right, so the next thing we want to do is go down to improve it. So we want to improve on this object. So what we're going to do is do the texture. So I'm going to go ahead and go to texture. We're going to go ahead and put the same thing, but I'm just going to add the bronze to it. And then I'm just going to go to Meshy 6. And then for the input, you want to make sure, in this case, we're doing text input. So we're going to just do text. And in this case, I'll just go ahead and leave the PBR maps off, but you can choose either one if you want. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit generate, and let's see what it actually does for us. All right, so it looks like it's all done doing our texture for us, and as expected, you're going to have an option here directly here in your history, and now you can see the output of this guy here. So it's looking pretty good. It's going to give us everything we need here, and so now we can kind of see what that looks like, and it looks good. It looks like we have a bronze light that we can use in the scene if we want to. Great. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is go ahead and do the remesh of this tool. So we went from 2D, we went from text to 3D, and then we added a texture to that object. And now we want to improve on it again by reducing the poly count. So right now the faces are about 30,000. We want to bring that down. So let's go ahead and do that. So what we're going to do is just select on remesh. And in here, we'll leave height at 0. In terms of the pivot, you can leave it at centered or put it on bottom, whatever you prefer. And what I'll do is I'll put mine on quad. You can use triangle, of course, and then you can adjust this as needed to the poly count that you want. So what I would say is just go ahead and drag this guy here and kind of put it where you think you want it. So I'll do it at 340. It sounds good. And so again, we have our mesh that we generated here. And then we went ahead and then the texture. So now we want to go ahead and remesh this object. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit generate. That's going to cost us 5 credits, of course, and I'll see you guys once it's done. All right, so it looks like it's all completed. And so now we have 3 different versions. And now if you click here, I have this lower poly count here. The faces are now about 2,800. And if we go to the wireframe here, you can see that looks better. And now it's looking pretty good. So that's not too bad, considering we basically did a text to 3D where it's completely random. We don't really have much choice as to what comes out of that. And you're just kind of putting in a good prompt. So of course, I didn't put the most detailed prompt in here. You would have to spend the time to kind of do that for yourself. But based on the prompt I used, this is what I had gotten. Great. So now that we have this, it just took us 3 iterations. We went from mesh to texture to remesh. And so now we're ready to go. We want to use this in our project. So all you got to do is go ahead and add it to your scene. So when you click this add to scene with that selected, it's going to go ahead and load it. Now, as you can see here in our scene, I'm just going to go ahead and move this out to my other screen here. And now that's going to be a low poly count object here, and it's looking pretty good. Great. And so now we have this mesh here, and we can put this in the scene as needed. And what's great about this is that on top of that, when you add those, it's going to also turn it into a UModelerX object. So on top of using Meshy, you still have the ability to edit this as needed. And so now we can go ahead and position this and do some interesting things, right? And so now we can take this and copy and paste it, and we can put it in the scene in different places. And there you have it. It's pretty cool, right? In terms of editing it, of course, you can take your object and you can add more textures to it. You can paint on it. You can do some additional things. You can do an additional remesh to it. You can do a decimate to this if you want to reduce it even more within your scene, just to help with performance. There's a few things you can do here, but we're just gonna leave this just like that. So that looks great. Now, in terms of generation, I'm gonna go ahead and bring this back here. Now we did text to 3D, but doing image to 3D is where you'll be able to get more closer to what you intended. So my recommendation would be to use an image that you generated. Maybe you're using something like Stable Diffusion, or maybe you're using Leonardo.ai. Whatever you're using, you can generate images that way. So I'm going to go ahead and generate an image, and I'm going to put that image in here. Now the image that I'm going to use is going to be this image here. So I went and prompted something like a sci-fi trash can. I don't know what a sci-fi trash can looks like, but this is apparently what a sci-fi trash can could look like. So we're going to plug this image into our prompt area here and for our image, and there you have it. So I already put that in there, and when you click it, you'll just be able to go into your file menu and just select that image. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and select Meshy 6. We're going to leave pose off. We're going to do topology to be triangle. That's completely fine. And for the poly count, for the initial poly count, I think I'm going to go ahead and drag this guy all the way up to something, I don't know, pretty high. 250,000 sounds good to me. And then we're going to leave symmetry on, auto, and then random there. All right, so this is going to cost us 20 credits to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and hit generate, and I'll see you on the other side, and we'll see what a sci-fi trash can looks like. All right, so it looks like our sci-fi trash can is all completed, and that looks decent. Let's go ahead and get a little closer and turn off this wireframe. There you have it. So it's looking pretty good. We don't have a texture on here just yet because we just need to, we also have to generate that. So again, going in the same process, this is the workflow. So we generated the image to 3D in this case, and now what I'm going to do is do the texturing. So I'm going to go ahead and click on texture, and now we can do a prompt, but instead we're going to use the same image to go ahead and do that prompt. And using that image, that should give it a better representation of our trash can here. So I'm going to go ahead and do Meshy 6, have image. We're going to leave the PBR maps off for now, and then I'll go ahead and hit generate. All right, great. So our texture is done, and there it is, looking all nice and fabulous there. Great. So now we have this texture here, and that's still the high poly count there, but that's okay because we can reduce that, of course. But so far so good. That looks really great. And the next thing, again, trying to really hammer into the workflow of how this can really help you in your projects, we're going to go ahead and do the remesh now to go ahead and do that. So remesh, you can set the pivot if you like. We're going to leave it on quads, and we could change it to maybe something else. I don't know. I think 3000 is probably decent just to kind of see, and we'll just go ahead and hit generate. All right, so it looks like we have the low poly version here, and it brought it down to about 3,300 faces. And so it lost some detail. So we would probably want to add a bit more poly count to this so that it would pull in more of the detail in the back here. Great. All right, so that's something that you would want to do. So you would just kind of go in and say, okay, if you don't want this output, you can really just go ahead and hit this X, go ahead and delete that task. And then once you delete that task, let's see here, let me make sure it's deleted. There we go. Delete that task. We're back at this point, and then we can go ahead and do another remesh there. And in this case, maybe it needs to be a little higher just to get more detail. So instead of 200,000, maybe we can do something like maybe 17, somewhere in this range. So I'll go ahead and do about that and generate as well. All right, so that one looks a little better. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that to the scene, and then we'll just go ahead and see what that looks like. Great. So we pull this in. Remember we did quads only. And so now we have this object here. Great. And so now if we wanted to put this somewhere, we could put it anywhere, of course. And there you have it. Awesome. So now we have this sci-fi looking object in here. We could obviously do more to it and play with these things. But this is just kind of giving you a good sense as to how you can generate your meshes directly inside of Unity and putting them directly into your project. And I went ahead and I just went ahead and skipped ahead here, and I wanted to create a garbage can that was more like a garbage can. And I went ahead and did that, and I went through the whole flow process. Image to 3D, texture, remesh, product. And so now we have it. Now just go ahead and add this to the scene, and let's go ahead and take a look. And so now we have this object here. Awesome. And so now we have this garbage can here with actual garbage in it, and we can put it here and reposition it. Now, if we want to remesh this more, we can. If we want to leave it like that, we can. It's just all about your project and whether or not that is a lot of polygons. Just depends on what you're doing. Well, I hope that was useful for you guys. I hope learning how to use this will be able to help you in your projects. If you guys have any questions, of course, feel free to reach out at any time. I'll be more than happy to help. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.